and it's time for Training Tuesday. So welcome, Dirty Girls, to another Training Tuesday. Last week we talked about how to get the promotion, right? The three kind of key steps, the three pillars you needed to be able to actually tackle that promotion with confidence, sure that it was yours. And I thought about that, and I thought, as much as we want to tackle the promotion, let's talk about the other side of this. Let's talk about the side of this that we look at the promotion and we think, yeah, I could kill that. I could absolutely do that job. And I want to, and it's exciting. But also, I don't know, if I take that role on, is it going to eat away at my personal time? Will I have no more time for my kids or my family? Will I not ever make yoga class again, right? There's another side to us going after what we want in our careers that keeps us kind of where we are, right? That holds us back. And while one part of it, and we talked about this a little bit last week, right? One part of it might be that imposter voice that tells you, you can't do this, you're not good enough, you're not ready. There's another voice that says, are you sure you have time for this? Are you sure you want to make time for this? And for those of you who have gotten your life to this nice balance where you can do your job and enjoy your life at the same time, like anything that changes that rocks that boat is a little, it's a little disheartening. You kind of sit there and go, I don't know, learning a new job is, it's a lot of work. It's so hard. It takes extra effort. Maybe now's not the time. Maybe I'm not ready, right? So there's lots of reasons why, other than just that imposter voice and fear, there's lots of reasons why we might not go after the promotion. We might not go after that big project. And a lot of it just has to do with us wanting to protect and preserve our time. So I want to talk about that tonight. I want to talk about what the three pillars are that you should have in place in order to truly move forward with a life that you love and at the same time accelerate your career. Because going bigger and going after your ambitions doesn't have to mean you're sacrificing other parts of your life. It just doesn't. There are other, better, smarter ways to do this. And we're going to talk about that. So, tonight, it's Training Tuesday. Welcome. My name is Natalie Hahn. I am the CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting, and you are here in Accelerating Leadership for Professional Women, our private Facebook group for women only. We are here every Tuesday night for a short training to talk about how we inspire more confidence in ourselves, how we improve our leadership skills, how we just go after creating this life of ours the way that we want it to, and how we do it and have some fun. And we're in this as a community, right? We're in here with other ambitious women who also have career paths that they're chasing, and we're totally unapologetic about it. So, as always, I have my other screen over here, so I'm looking. I would love for those of you joining me live to just drop a hello in the chat. Tell me where you're from. Let me know where you're listening in from. And as always, if you have questions or comments or want to share your story, use the chat. Let's do that. The more interactive this is, the more fun it is for us. I definitely am always trying to keep on top of the comments and make sure that I can see who's here. And if you have questions, try to address them as I can in real time. So, and if you're watching this in the replay, which plenty of you do, you can still drop a hi in the chat and tell me where you're from, and absolutely leave your questions, and I will get around to answering those as quickly as possible. And it's Christine who's here. Hey, Christine, always happy to see you. And Rose, hello, Rose. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here. And for those of you who are just lurking, you're welcome to listen, but would love for you also to chime in. All right, we're going to get started. So, get the promotion without giving up balance. So here's the deal, and I described this last week when we talked about getting the promotion in the first place, right? I've tried it the other way. I tried this formula of if I work harder and I work longer hours, I'm going to get the promotion. And then I had this belief, if I get the promotion, I'm going to have to work longer hours and work harder, because how else do I prove that I deserved it? How else do I show that I've earned this, that I deserve to be here, that I'm worthy of the role? And what ended up happening is my youngest one, when he was about 7-ish, threw the word workaholic at me. And I thought, how on earth does a 7-year-old know what a workaholic is? Well, He knows because I was modeling it really, really well. I still don't know who ever told him about that word, but he applied it to me, and he applied it very, very well. Hey, Jill, good to see you. He applied it really well because it was the truth. I had no hobbies. Outside of work, I wasn't doing anything else. I didn't see my friends. And in fact, as an adult, if you ask my kids who my friends were at that time, or when they meet people who I was friends with at that time, they look at me and go, we never met this person, because I didn't hang out with my friends. I didn't expand my social group. I didn't do social activities. I didn't have hobbies or things that I was doing. If I had a spare moment that wasn't working, it was with my kids, because I had to keep them clothed and fed, and that was my priority. But there wasn't anything else to my life. And so at night, if I'm watching football or watching TV or something, the laptop was in my lap, and I was working and only half paying attention to things that were going on around me. So I was very focused on this idea that I had to work the long hours, and I had to work extra hard to prove that I deserved the promotion that I already got. And what happened was I started looking around. I was looking at my boss. I was looking at the CEO. I was looking at just my peers. And there were other people in this company who had my same title or higher, even, who were taking time off. And they were going to the golf game. They were taking time to do sailing on weekends. They went to a Red Sox game. They would cut out of work early, right, and go to Fenway Park. They didn't apologize for this. They didn't apologize for leaving work early. They didn't apologize for having these other things that were clearly just fun for them to go do. And yet, they still did their jobs. They still did good jobs. These were still people that I very much liked and respected. But they weren't killing themselves. I wasn't getting emails from them at like 11 o'clock at night to make up for the hours I took off earlier in the day. And that's a concept I want to be sure that we understand also, right? Because as you spend more time in your career, and as you do get promoted, you're being paid less and less for the hours you spend, and more for this, more for your experience and your knowledge and the intuition that you bring to the job. But here I was trying to make up hours because earlier in the day I took my kid to a dentist appointment, or I had to go run and take care of something at the DMV or something like that. And I felt like I had to make up those hours even though I was salaried and not actually being tracked hourly. Right? That was a mental thing for me. So I'm watching all my peers, and I'm like looking at them going, okay, they're not lazy and they're not doing a bad job, but they're clearly doing something different and, dare I say, a little better than I was doing, because they were being successful and they weren't killing themselves in the process. Their kids were not looking at them going, gosh, you're such a workaholic, right? So I had to start paying attention to what it was that they did. And what it was they did were what I'm going to describe to you as the 3 pillars. These are the things that I observed and then started to put in place for myself, because certainly as my kids were accusing me of being a workaholic, and as I was a single parent, it was more important to me to figure out that work-life balance that initially I just thought was impossible. I really did. I just believed it was impossible. Can't do it. Can't do that. I cannot be a full-time mom and a full-time employee and have something left just for me, right? Have something left that's mine. But what I learned through observing my peers and through starting to put these practices in place was that that's not actually true. You can have a piece of your life carved out for you, as well as your career, as well as your family and your friends and your obligations. And it comes down to these 3 pillars. The first one is focus. It comes down to focus. And by focus, I don't mean that, you kind of zero in on something to the detriment of everything else. Focus when it comes to your job. Okay? I'm talking specifically about what these people had, and what I learned to institute was focus when it came to my job. And what the focus was, it was on what are the things I can do that actually move the needle in my job, that actually show that I have an impact on the company. What's the impact? What's the value that I'm bringing to the company? Right? So first I want to focus there on what are the things on my to-do list. And we go to work and we all have a 25 item to-do list. What are the things I can do that of this 25 items, what are the top 3 to 5 I can do that actually make a difference to my job, to the company, that actually drive a result? So that goes back to prioritizing. And 2 types of prioritizing. One is biggest impact for least amount of effort, which sounds lazy, I know, but you do want the biggest impact. And if you're trying to do things quickly, it's for the least amount of effort. Now, there may be some big impact things you have to do or that you want to do that require an awful lot of effort. Okay. Prioritize those according to how are those big projects that have a big impact going to actually influence your career. One of the places where we fall down in our focus is we're so focused on getting our task list done that we're not paying attention to which of the tasks are actually important to our career overall versus important to the job that we have today. So often the things we choose to do are focused on, here's the job I have today, and it's these 5 tasks. That's what I'm being paid for today. Okay. That will get you through your job today. But what are 2 or 3 tasks that should be on your list that not only impact your job today, but get you to where you want to be in 3 years or 5 years? What are the things you can be doing today that set you up for where you want to be in your next role? If we keep looking at our jobs for the task list of what they are today, we're stuck in today, and we will always be stuck in today. And we might be magnificent at what we do today, but we never get ahead to where we want to go because our vision is here instead of up here and looking out. Like we're looking down at our to-do list instead of looking out over where I'm trying to go in my career. So when I talk about focus, right, having focus as your first pillar, focus is about what are the things on my list I can do that have the biggest impact, how much effort is behind that impact, and by impact, I mean, does it bring value to the company? Does it bring value to my role, to my team, to my department? What does it do for the business? How does it move us ahead? And second is, what are the tasks I should be doing that not only help me today, but help me with my long-term career, help me with where I want to go? So that's your first pillar, it's focus. Rose says, I can totally relate to this after just being promoted. I feel some weight taking time up. Right. We feel guilty, Rose, right? We feel like they just promoted me, so now I got to show them that I earned this, that I've got to prove to them that that I deserved it, that I'm not going to let them down. And isn't that funny that we feel that way when you've already got the job? So key to not staying stuck in just this job or not feeling like you're on a hamster wheel constantly trying to prove yourself is focus. Prioritize, biggest impact, least amount of effort if you can find it. And actually that least amount of effort goes into pillar number 2. So pillar number 1 is focus. Pillar number 2 is network. Use your network. This is something that male leaders in particular are really good at doing that female leaders were more hesitant at it. So here's what it is. It's leveraging our resources. It's that simple. It is using the people we know to help us do the job. We are queens. Most of us are queens at, I can do it myself. I can do it better than anybody else. At least I'll get it done my way. And so we do. And so our list of things to do becomes incredibly long. And yet there are people out there on our team, on other teams, who can and should be supporting us, who can help us, who can probably do just as good a job, even if they do it a different way, who can provide extra support that frees up some of our time. We do not leverage our network. We do not use our resources very effectively. Now, what we are good at is the second part of networking, which is expand your network, expand your resources, meet more people, right? Find more ways, new ways to do the tasks so that they're done faster, so that they're automated, so that you're getting help and support and you don't have to think about it anymore. We are pretty good at expanding our network, at talking to people, at getting to know them, at exchanging information, even at touching base and just saying hi now and then. We're not good at asking them to actually step up and step in, to actually do the thing. And that is one thing that effective leaders are very good at. And it's very deliberate and it's very thoughtful, which is, I have this project on my plate that I have to get done. I am the leader of this project. And yeah, I can look at the 10 things that need to happen and I could do all of those and it will take me 3 weeks. Or I can look at the people around me and other people who might benefit from the project, right? Because if I go back to focus, I don't want to do this project unless I know it's going to have an impact on me and my career longer term or have value to the business short term. So if this project has value to the business short term, there must be other people in the business who would be interested in supporting me on the project. What could they do to help me? How can they step in and free up some of my time? So now the project only takes 2 weeks instead of 3, because I got 2 other people to step in and help me with other pieces of this. When we leverage our resources, and the resources normally are people, but it could be money, it could be tools, right? It could be processes. Whatever we're leveraging that helps us speed up time, that helps us save money, but more importantly, frees us up from having to think about or worry about the thing and still keeps it moving forward, that's what we want to do. Our default tends to be, I'll do it myself, right? Our default tends to be, if not, I'll do it myself. There are typical, traditional, well, so-and-so always does it, so so-and-so is going to do it again. That might work, but so-and-so might not be the best person for the job, or you might not like their work, or maybe they always do it, but they're not working on your time frame. So when you step back and look at your network, get creative. Who can help you do what? How can they help you? How can they step up and take some things off your plate so that your time is freed up to continue to pursue other things? So that instead of 3 weeks of your time dedicated to this project, you're spending on and off 2 weeks of your time working on the project and managing the other people who are supporting the project, and now you have extra time to go have dinner with a girlfriend you haven't seen in 3 years, to go to that yoga class that you've been meaning to check out, to go do anything, to sit on your couch and binge watch something for a little while, because we need and we deserve the break. So pillar 1 is focus. Pillar 2 is your network, looking at the people around you and figuring out who else can help. When we learn to rely on people and we learn to build teams, we become a much more powerful leader. And that person does not have to report to you. These people do not have to be in some official hierarchy for you to tap on them on the shoulder and say, hey, I could use some help with this. You can build a team without having a single person report to you. And it's going to be the power of, what are we doing that has value? What are we doing that has value and influence here at work that's going to benefit all of us? Because everybody wants to be part of a project like that. Everybody wants to be part of an initiative where they can say they've brought value, they've added value. And so do you. And this is how you show that you lead. So 1 is focus, 2 is network, 3 is the one everybody hates, but it comes up almost every week in Training Tuesday. 3 is your boundaries. You gotta have boundaries. There's 3 types of boundaries in particular. There's a dozen types of boundaries, but there's 3 types of boundaries in particular that are really important when it comes to your leadership style, when it comes to you having work-life balance. And the first one is your time boundary. The first one is, how are you spending your time? So you've heard me tell the story before, if you've been to Training Tuesday before, about how I walked into one job, didn't think much about it because being a single mother, I had kids to get to school, which meant I was not going to be online and working before 8:30. Just wasn't going to happen. Not before 8:30 in the morning, Eastern time, thank you. And so I didn't respond to text messages or IMs or emails that I got before 8:30 in the morning because I had my life to manage. I had 3 kids to get out the door to school. Now, you don't have to have that in order to decide that you are not responding to emails before 8:30 or 9 or 8, whatever your time frame is, because you have a life. So many times we sit back and go, well, she's a single mom, so of course she has to do that, right? Or They're a caretaker for their parents, so of course we make excuses, we justify, we rationalize why other people can do the thing that we think we can't do. So you're going to tell me that just because you're single and you don't have a partner and you don't have kids and you don't have pets and your parents don't need you, that you don't have a life, that you don't have a morning routine, that you don't have the need for exercise or downtime or meditation or anything in your morning, that you should simply wake up and be dedicated to work? Of course not. Of course you have a life. It doesn't actually matter what your family situation is or what your home situation is. The time boundary is the one that you choose for when are you at work and when are you not at work. That's up to you. And so many times we use the excuse of, well, I have to stay on this project, I have to work overtime, I have to. And I really want you to question the I have to. Because most of the time when we say we have to, we don't. Nobody's missing us after 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night. Nobody's looking for your email at 11 p.m. going, oh, I can't wait till she sends that email and I'm going to stay up for it. Nobody does that. We think it's important because, again, we think this extra hours we're putting in, right? All these hours that we're working, we think we're proving our value. But we're not. We're just working extra hours. So time boundary. What are the time frames in which you're willing to work? What are the time frames in which you are answering the phone or responding to text messages, right? What that you set. The second boundary you want to look at is your communication boundary. And the communication boundary falls in a couple of different areas, but the main one around communication boundary is what you're communicating, when you're communicating it, so it's tied to time and how. So when I'm off, I am off. You can email me all you want, but I guarantee you I'm not checking my email when I am off. That's a communication boundary. I don't look at my emails. When I look at text messages, right, I have a more fluid boundary with text messages. Yes, you can text me. Yes, you can leave me voicemails. And I am more likely to look at that or check in with that either on a day off or after hours, right? So what are your communication boundaries? Who are you willing to communicate with? When are you willing to communicate with them? And how are you willing to communicate? Because the other piece about communication boundaries is how you allow people to speak to you and how you speak to other people. And people who speak to you disrespectfully are crossing a communication boundary, right? That assumption that they can speak to you that way, that assumption that they can make a demand or volunteer you for a project or cut you off or interrupt you, those are communication boundaries. And the reason why communication boundaries are very important when it comes to your work-life balance is because clear communication is what sets the expectations for everybody. If you are not clear in your communication that you are not responding to anything before 8:30 in the morning, people will just keep hitting you up. Some of them might get frustrated. Now, you can say, well, that's on them, but the truth is it would be helpful to communicate, hey, I have a morning routine. I'm not getting to you before 8:30. So you are welcome to continue sending me your messages, but just understand I will get to you when I get to the office, whether that office is a home office or not. When I check in at work at 8:30, that's when I will be getting to you. So being able to communicate clearly what your boundaries are and being able to hold people accountable for how they communicate with you is important. The third boundary is the personal boundary. Where is your personal time? Where are you spending it? How are you spending it? And truth be known, you don't have to tell anybody how you're spending your personal time. If you're taking off early to go, like I had a coworker who regularly took off early during baseball season to go to the Red Sox games. He was not apologetic. He did not make excuses. Half the time he didn't explain where he was, although we all kind of knew because we knew what a fan he was and we knew he had tickets. That did not take away from his ability to do his job. That did not take away from the respect that his coworkers had for him. Why? Because he was clear about his time boundaries. He was always making time for the Red Sox. He communicated it clearly. And if he needed to be available, even if there was a Red Sox game going on, if there was, heaven forbid, some sort of emergency, you could get to him. You could get him on his cell phone. But he had personal boundaries. And his personal boundaries were around, yes, I will tell you about the Red Sox game, but I don't necessarily have to tell you every detail of why. Why is this important to me? Why am I going? Why is this a thing in my life, right? Where we share, how much of our personal stories we share and where we share them is part of our personal boundary. How and where we decide our personal life fits is a personal boundary. If you are someone who takes off every day at noon to go to a lunchtime spin class, cool. Put it on your calendar, communicate that at noon every day you are not available. There's your time, it's noon. Communication, not available for the next hour. And then the personal boundaries, because that's my personal time, because I'm going to go to spin class. Whether you share that or not is up, that you're at spin class at noon is up to you. As far as they know, you're knitting or you're just having a leisurely lunch. It doesn't matter. But know your personal boundaries, how much you're willing to share and how much you're willing to give up or not give up in order to get the job done. Clarity around our boundaries is key. So your 3 pillars, right? The 3 pillars for you to be able to step into that bigger role and not feel like you have to give up your entire life is focus, right? Focus on your priorities. Focus on what has the biggest impact with the least amount of effort. Your network. Who's around you? Who can you tap into? Who can you build a team with, whether or not they're technically on your team? And 3 is your boundaries. How do you manage your time, your communication, and your personal life? And how do you create that bubble you want so that you have a life you love? Those are your 3 key pillars for tonight. And Rose said, yes. Today I had to take back my schedule. Yeah, I had built time into my schedule for new responsibilities. The front office was still assigning tasks. Oh, yes. And see, Rose, that's a funny thing with, for people in your position, right? When you are in a role and then you get promoted to a new role, there's a hangover, isn't there, of people still expecting you to do your old job because you know it so well, because you did it so well. So people will keep going back to you for as long as they possibly can for the stuff that you're no longer accountable for. And that becomes a boundary. That becomes I appreciate that you need help with this, but this isn't my job anymore, and I don't have time to manage this for you anymore. I have a new job, and here it is. And I realize that that can be easier said than done. It takes practice. And here's the funny thing, especially when we're setting up our boundaries, is we don't vocalize them because we're worried about how we're coming across. We're worried if I set a boundary and I say that doesn't work for me, that people are going to think we're not a team player, that we're not cooperative, that we're being difficult, or we're just not nice, right? We come up with all these reasons for why we don't simply state our boundaries. But I want you to think about when you've been on the receiving end. When someone has said to you, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. I really don't have time for this right now. I have these other priorities that I need to focus on. How many times have you walked away and gone, honestly, that person's a jerk? We usually don't, because we recognize that they have a new job now. They're drawing a boundary. What we normally do is go, who am I going to find that's going to help me with this now? But we use our resources and we go find someone else who helps us with it now. So our hesitancy in setting our boundaries out there is about us. It's really not about the reaction of the other people. Most people react pretty well when you set a boundary because they understand it. All right, so focus, network, boundaries. Those are your 3 pillars. If you are looking to step up into a role that you feel is much more responsibility, and your biggest concern is it's going to take a ton more time and a ton more energy from you, then what I want you to think about as you step into this is, where do I focus my energy where I can have the most impact in this job as well as moving ahead? Who can I leverage? Who's in my network who can be part of my team to ensure that I'm successful at this job? And what are the boundaries I want to set right up front to ensure I am protecting my time? Because what I learned from my 7-year-old, this is now 12 years ago because he's 19, is that I didn't want to be labeled as a workaholic. I didn't want to be that parent. Single parent or not, that was not an excuse for me to not be present with my kids. So finding that work-life balance was really important. All right. That is it for Training Tuesday. Just remember those 3 pillars: focus, network, and boundaries. And as always, love meeting with you guys on Tuesday nights. I am starting now to fill my class for September. And I talked about this, I think, last week. just wanted to share again, I have a 10-week Accelerate Your Career group coaching class that's going to kick off in September. It's a 10-week course focused on building confidence and leadership skills. And what this course is, it's a group coaching course. So you have 10 weeks of training, 10 weeks of exercises that we work through, and 10 weeks of group coaching where we get on the call as a group and we talk through some of our either challenges with the exercises or questions that we have with some of the trainings. Sometimes we just talk through what happened this week, like what happened at work and how are you showing up? Because the focus of this course is to really build up your confidence and your leadership skills. Have you really stepping up and stepping into leadership? The benefits of it, the things that you get out of this in working with other women, is that you're connecting with a tribe of other women who are going through the same struggles sometimes and challenges and the same successes that you are, right? They got promoted or they're going after that new job. They're struggling with a presentation that they have to give, or they have to be on video for the first time and it's nerve-wracking, right? All the same things we all struggle with at different points in our career. We come together and we support each other, right? We share the energy with each other in terms of how do we work through this. So what I love about group coaching is the different perspectives that come to the table with this and that allow us to learn from each other while we're learning some really concrete and proven leadership skills that are going to help you go forward. We tackle imposter syndrome. We tackle the voices in your head, not just the imposter voice, but the other gremlin voices that are trying to hold you back. We tackle communication challenges, team building challenges, all of that good stuff. So it's a 10-week course. Would love to tell you more about it. So if you're interested in learning more about the 10-week course, drop the word lead in the chat and I'll connect with you, and what we'll talk about is whether or not a course like this is a good fit for you. It may be, it may not be. It will depend on where you are in your career and if you're really ready to dive in and make some changes with how you're showing up. So thank you again for joining me tonight. Drop lead in the chat. We're going to talk more about Accelerate Your Career. It's the 10-week group coaching program that is kicking off again in September. And for now, everybody, have a fabulous week. Thank you for joining me on Training Tuesday. Sue, it's good to see you. I see Sue just popped in. Nice to see you, Sue. And thank you guys. Have a fabulous week.